This is Dan Watson from Enterprise Earth, and you are watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews. This is episode number 31. And today's guest, we're talking to Dan Watson, the vocalist for Enterprise Earth. Last week we talked with Gabe Mangold, their guitarist, and I wanted to do Dan last week, but somehow it just didn't work out, so I ended up interviewing Gabe. But then Dan recently hit me up like last night and is like, hey, you want to do an interview? It was like, yeah, man. And he's like, yeah, dude, let's do it. And so we settled for a time, and now we finally are getting able to talk with Dan. Basically, we're just going to be talking about his journey from where he began with music up to now, as well as his perspective about the new Enterprise Earth album called The Chosen, which comes out January 14th. So without further ado, let's go talk to Dan. So what's up, guys? I am here with Dan Watson from Enterprise Earth today. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty well. It's great that we're able to do this. Yes, so basically this format is we're just going to be talking about like your journey from metal and music from where you started up to now. But let's just dive right back into the very, very beginnings. What were the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to be a vocalist?
For me, there's a broad answer because there was no one band. It was a multitude, and I think that also kind of carried on into like my influences later too, where I would just kind of pick parts out that I really liked, like certain aspects out of whether it be a vocalist or band, and then kind of saw like kind of like what my perfect band would be out of a mixture of everything and or vocalists, and just worked on those aspects. But in the beginning, back in the day when I first decided to be a vocalist, it was Good Charlotte and Linkin Park, and that was like when I was about 13 years old.
Yeah, Linkin Park were like one of those first bands that got me into like heavier music before metal came and took over my life when I was 10.
They're very common, I guess you would call it, gateway band.
Like Hybrid Theory and Meteora still slap.
Yeah, they do.
Anyway, go on.
That's it. As far as and then it just kind of like spiraled out of control from there and got heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
All right. So what were your like first bands, like pre Infinite Annihilator, pre Enterprise Earth? Were you any other bands before those?
Yeah, I was in a bunch of bands. I started out in Adrian, Michigan. That's where I lived at the time of my first band, and I was 15. And I kind of moved around a bunch and was kind of in and out of a lot of bands, and in bands in Toledo, Ohio, Adrian, and Tecumseh, Michigan, and then down in like Portage, Indiana. And I was in a whole bunch of different projects, a lot of projects that never saw the light of day, and like little solo projects. I think I always had like a meme projects before memes were memes. And wow. I had I think one of my projects, I named it Gargling Period Blood, and I used to go in and use the paint on Windows, the program Paint.
Yeah.
And I used to spend hours just painting my logos for my little projects. And and then there's sometimes where I was in a band for like a couple weeks, and then I was just like, I think what the thing was with me moving to so many different bands was I would join one band because I saw potential, or I would try to start a band with certain musicians because I saw the potential. And then basically it always ended up boiling down to them never being serious and and them treating it more like a hobby, when in the back of my head I was like, this is what I want to do for my life, the rest of my life. And so it was just, if I saw some people were like getting lazy or not making opportunities priority, and then or not getting serious or being serious about their instrument, practicing, or then I would usually just leave. Like, all right, guys, I gotta go. So
All right.
been in and out of a whole bunch of different bands, and then I think the last two before Infinite Annihilator was one band called Betrayer, and that was a band in the Portage area. We were like gent deathcore kind of, and that's probably the only existing band that you could actually hear recordings with that I've done before IA. And Discover the Tyrant, but I never recorded with them. But there's a whole bunch of different bands, and that's the one thing too is when you're in and out of bands, a lot of people think like in a perspective of like, oh man, they wasted my time, or I wasted my time in that band because it never did anything or whatever. But when you're on the road to, at least for me, when I was on the road to becoming or doing what I love and making something out of it, I always saw, even when it never amounted to anything, as at least experience and training and growth.
All right. So how did you hook up with the Infinite Annihilator guy?
That was just that's when I quit Betrayer, and I was gonna go to college and not do music. I was gonna do like accounting or something. I was still on the fence about what I wanted to do, but I was gonna get serious about other paths in life, and but I was really bored. Like, I needed some sort of outlet, because like for me, even if I wasn't going to do it full time and I was going to go to college, I really wanted to at least for fun do music. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I was I really wanted to just focus on vocals because that's the most fun to me. So I was looking around for instrumentation on YouTube, and that would be like fun for me to put my vocals over. And they kind of popped up in the results because they had some instrumentals out, and I was like, yo, this is like my vibe. Like, this is something that I want to do. So I just reached out and asked them for an instrumental, just so I can have fun with it. There was no intent of like joining as a band or intent of doing anything seriously. I just wanted some fun time with a song.
Right, and this album still kicks.
Yeah.
It's like, it's hard to believe it's gonna be almost 10 years old.
I know, it's fucking weird.
Yeah, I remember first hearing Cunt Crusher, and I was like, holy shit.
The good old, the good old device, Nutcracker and the Cunt Crusher.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what was my thing?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to wake up really early and I stayed up really late. Oh yeah, and then I did like half of Decapitation Fornication. I recorded half the vocals for that on Audacity.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey guys, check this out. What do you guys think of this? Like, just for their opinion. And they were like, bro, you should finish it. I was like, well, I'm okay. And they're like, bro, this is sick. And that was vacation in its entirety finished. And they're like, hey, what do you think about doing an entire album with us? And I was like, sure. Because I I don't know. I didn't really have much time in my hands, but it sounded like fun. I was like, you guys have more of these that I could do vocals over? That sounds like fun. So they're like, yeah, we actually have an entire album, and all the tracks were pre-named. They had already, I think they just like did a bro huddle and tried to pick out the most disgusting names they could. And like with my experience with my old projects, like for instance, Gargling Period Blood,
Yeah.
it was kind of a joke that I played well with because of my past and just memeing and making fun of how brutal and serious people are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did the album on my lunch breaks, and that was that.
All right, and then you did that for a little bit, but then how did Enterprise Earth form? How did you form the band? Because you formed in 2014, I believe.
Yeah, See, this thing is, I didn't even know the year that we formed it. I knew roughly about. So basically, when it was time for me to quit that band, I did, and I wanted to do something else. I mean, because that band couldn't tour.
Yeah, because I heard they're
we had
from
talked
the UK
about,
and you're from here in the US.
yeah, and then I was disappointed too because I was like, hey, let's get something together and maybe play like one big show here in the States or something. And they were like, yeah, well, we can play some of the album, but we can't play it all. So we're going to focus more on our next record, writing it so that we can play the material. And then when that happens, we can probably like do some tour stuff. And I was like, tight. But basically that and like drama and stuff like that, I didn't like. I quit, and then I was like, just kind of like keeping my eyes open. I tried to start a couple projects, but I don't know, I just wasn't feeling them. And then BJ hit me up. BJ Sampson, he's the man that I started the band with, and he was like, hey, I heard you're looking for something to do. And I was like, yeah, I am. And he's like, well, check out this stuff. He was like, I ghost wrote this song for this band and ghost wrote this song for that band. And I'm not going to say who they are because obviously that's the whole purpose of ghost writing, is because no one knows who you are. But I was like, bro, I was like, these songs are sick. And obviously the bands that you wrote songs for are sick. And I was like, yeah, let's do something. So we ended up writing an EP.
Yeah, 23.
And he was like, let's tour. And I was like, that would be great. And so basically, I mean, it's been a revolving door with members basically the whole time until I met Gabe. But so basically, for about 5 years before Gabe joined the band, the Enterprise Earth was just me and BJ with a revolving door of like basically tour fill-ins.
Yeah.
And besides Aaron O'Toole, I will always say that he was definitely for sure a solid member. Because just I don't know, there's something about being in a band looking for members to join that literally just attracts, some of the worst people and or some of the I don't know. And that's the thing, is most of the people weren't the worst people. It was just like they had problems. A different array of problems.
Yeah.
So I remember our record label always talking about like, bro, it looks bad that you guys have so many revolving members, like people coming in and out. And I was just like, yeah, but I'm not gonna keep a shitty person or somebody who doesn't practice their instrument or somebody who's horrible to be around in the band just because it looks bad if I fire them. So we would just let people go, but always give everyone, a fair chance.
But
and then a lot of the people too that came in and out, like I had a lot of good times with, and I thought we were friends. But as soon as we had to cut them, they wouldn't talk to me anymore. So it's like, so I was like, all right, well, we're even friends anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how that got started, and then that's, I guess, how it's been for 5 years until I met Gabe.
Yeah.
And then when Gabe joined,
Yeah.
BJ stepped out. Yeah, BJ stepped out, and then it's just basically been, solid and different.
Yeah, but then in
Dream team.
Yeah, in 2015, you put out your debut, Patient Zero. I'm just curious, like, what was Stay Sick Recordings? Was that like your first label?
Yeah, so no, it was technically our second.
Oh yeah, because this was We Are Triumphant, then Stay Sick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so Stay Sick, yeah, is our second label, and Mike Milford, who does all the grunt work and basically runs Stay Sick for Franz. He's good friends with BJ, and we were looking for a label, but obviously we didn't have a big enough discography or not much touring experience as a group in order for a bigger record label to actually consider picking us up. It wasn't until after that record that we got offers and opportunities from bigger record labels. Some I will not mention because some of them I'm really glad I never took the deal.
Yeah. Yeah, but then there was like that whole record cycle. What was that like? Because I remember first seeing you all back in 2015. You play it was like you guys, King Conqueror, Dealey Plaza. I forget, there was like one other
that
band.
was our first tour as a band.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw you all, and I didn't really knew it was you because I was sort of familiar with Infinite Annihilator, but I just wasn't until like a little after that I really checked you out. I was like, holy shit, that's the same guy from Infinite Annihilator. And I didn't know at that time when I saw you played at that freaking Swayze's venue back in 2015, and that was that same show where there was that piece of shit that knocked out the Chris from King Conqueror.
Oh, that was Georgia.
Yeah,
that was an interesting night because that guy that knocked him out, like when the cops came, apparently what happened was the cops just let him go, and
what the fuck?
and then the rumor was the cops let him go because he was like CIA or something.
Jeez.
Like he was like an off-duty CIA, and so they were just like, all right, well, have a nice day, sir. And so that created a lot of drama.
Yeah,
but that was King Conqueror is crazy because every night on that tour there was like an ambulance, like literally every night an ambulance because somebody got fucked up. There was even a kid that I snuck into the show because it was a 20, or I think it was a 20, 18 and older or 21 plus show or something like that, and I was just like, yo, pick up, because we were loading in. He was like, I want to get in, but they won't let me in. And he was like, I wanted to meet you guys. And I was like, yo, pick up Aaron, or who was the drummer at the time? Whatever, pick up our drummer's bass drum and bring it in and act like you're part of our band. So that way you can get in. And so I got him in, I snuck him in.
Yeah, it was Michael Davidson.
Yeah, Michael. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it said in the credits. I had to look in there.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah. I wonder what he's up to these days.
Who knows?
But so I snuck this kid in, and later that night, ambulance showed up, and like that venue was illegally run. There was an illegal bar. Like it was very obvious they didn't have a liquor license.
Oh my god!
They didn't even say the venue address until the show started. They just told you the street it was on because obviously it was illegally run. So later that night, that same kid who I snuck in, who was underage, was getting drug out to an ambulance with his like lip hanging off his face.
Jesus.
Yeah, I was just like, God damn it! Like that's my fault. My bad.
Yeah, I think I've pretty much seen almost every Enterprise Earth show in Atlanta. I think I've seen you all 7 times since 2015.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I
remember your face.
I get that recognized a lot. And then 2016, like I saw you all open up Summer Slaughter that year. That was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like Cannibal Corpse, Nile, After the Burial, Suffocation. Like I got like that fuller flyer right in front of me. Hey, that was
very.
How did you all ended up opening that? Because that's still, in my opinion, the best Summer Slaughter lineup ever.
That's because Ash from Sumerian, well, he's the one who runs that that tour, and he was interested in picking us up. And so basically it was kind of like a, hey guys, here's Summer Slaughter, you guys should consider signing with me kind of thing. And I mean that's what they usually do with like the opening band on Summer Slaughters. It's like a prospect usually for them as like scouting a band, or just because someone owes someone a favor or whatever. I don't know. But that was the case for us that year, and it was one hell of a time, that's for sure.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah, I know the last show you played at the Old Masquerade in Atlanta. That was a hell of a way to end it.
Yeah, I played a few times at the Old Masquerade. That place was definitely interesting.
Yeah, I think it was that time. I remember like you said, you've gone through so many live changes. I remember first time I think that time you had 3 guitar players. Then of course, the next time you were down to 2, and now you're down to 1.
Yeah. Yeah, we had 3, and then we were like, why do we have 3 guitar players for breakdowns?
I don't know. What are you trying to be, Iron Maiden?
With breakdowns. But yeah, so all
right.
It was very interesting.
All right. So the next album, Embodiment, I love this album. Was there like pressure to follow up Patient Zero?
No, because I wasn't worried about that. But I hate Embodiment so much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hate that album. I mean, there's some fun songs on there, but overall, I fucking hate it. Basically, what happened was BJ. Because how I like to do is I like to be involved in the instrumental writing, not necessarily writing riffs, but I like to be there for song structure stuff. And when there's a riff that I hate, that I think takes away from the vibe of the song or the flow of the song, I'll be like, hey, you need to cut that or change it or do something like that. I like to be really involved. And for this album, BJ just wrote the entire album without sending me anything until it was finished. And then he was like, all right, here's the whole album that's already written instrumentally, and you have like, it was like 3 weeks to write your lyrics and be ready for the studio. And I was not a fan of that, because after Patient Zero, Patient Zero was like crammed in a sense, because I was working full time and writing for the record, and then hit the studio, and I had 2 days in the studio to record the entire album. And so when Embodiment came up and we were writing, I was like, all right, so I want to take our time with this. I don't want to rush. I want to be able to have all the time I need so I can perfect it to make it awesome, and then for us to like bounce ideas back and forth and like really get, a good album out. And the opposite of what I wanted for Embodiment happened, and it was rushed, and BJ didn't involve me in any of the instrumental writing process. So there's a lot of riffs on there that I fucking hate. There's even songs on there altogether that I fucking despise, that I think are just whack. But yeah, and then went to the studio, and I think it was like I wanted a certain microphone that I wanted to use for a record in the studio, and I wanted more than 2 days in the studio. And I think this time I got 3 days instead of 2, which sucks. I want to be like in the studio for like a week to record vocals and take my time, and then go back and comb over something. But there's just like, what happened was, like, when you're rushed like that, there's no time to go back and listen to everything and be like, all right, let's fix this because your voice was kind of weak here, or your voice didn't sound right here, so let's just redo that. there was no time to do any of that. So everything was just like pumped out. And then the album artwork, I think one of the artists that we had in mind was just like too busy. I think we were trying to get Mark Cooper back then.
Yeah.
And he was too busy and he wouldn't have had it done in time. So we ended up having to like buy artwork from I think it was from Mark Cooper. That we had to buy something from him that was already done that he had in his back pocket. So it just kind of like matched up kind of with the concept of the album a little bit.
Yeah,
And
the
we were
artwork
like, all
looks
right.
fucking sick though.
Yeah, I like it now, but I didn't like the fact that it wasn't custom tailored to the concept of the album. It was so everything about the process of writing the album fucking sucked to me. So every song I'm not a fan, but I do like a couple songs. I mean, even the mix turned out weird. Like the high vocals kind of disappear in the mix, and then the lower vocals are louder, which doesn't make sense because in reality, highs are louder than those, and it's just like, yeah, just doesn't. Yeah, I fucking hate that album. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, but was like the touring and everything pretty good? Because I think I first saw you on that. I think it was the first tour on that album was the Chelsea Grin Ice Nine Kills tour, right?
Yeah, I think the record cycle was fine. It was pretty good. But it's kind of hard to care when you feel like because that's how I felt. I felt like I failed because I failed to put out something that I'm stoked about. You know what I mean? So like having to get up on stage every night and sing songs I'm not stoked about, like fucking sucked. So that was a really long record cycle for me.
Yeah, and I think it was also the first album with Gabe in the band.
Embodiment?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, because I thought, remember, I saw when I saw him with the Chelsea Grin tour he was playing with you.
Yeah, he was. Because we were looking for another new lead guitar player, and we had a guy ready for the tour. It was going to be his first tour with us, and I knew him for a while. I actually met him on the King Conquer tour at that New York show. At the New York show that the kid's lip got all busted.
Oh, shit.
I met him there. He's a good guitar player, but so apparently, like, this is how it works for us before we do a tour is everyone lives in different states, different parts of the country. And we practice by ourselves, and then we just expect each other all to be prepared. And then we'll meet up before tour and practice together for a few days, make sure it's tight and that everyone did their job on their own time, did the work, and then we go tour. So this new guitar player, he comes out to the few days. I think we had like 5 days or something before that Chelsea Grin tour. So he flies out all the way to Seattle. We all fly out, and he doesn't even know the songs.
Oh my god!
At all. And like he knew some of the leads, some of the solos, and I don't know what it was. I think that he was going through something personally, but I don't even know why he showed up. And anyway, everyone was fucking pissed. Everyone was, oh man, you should have seen Aaron, our old drummer.
Oh, wow.
He was just like, fucking, this motherfucker doesn't even show up knowing the shit. Whatever. But I felt bad for him because, I mean, I'd feel bad for anybody who shows up to a practice and doesn't know any of the set. And then you're literally like everyone wasted their resources on you because you're in a spot now just like everyone fucking hates you. But anyway, so that guy, we had no lead guitar player. So we literally had to play backtracks for this guy. And he just basically pretended to play while we were on tour. And we were just like, oh shit. So we hit up Gabe, and we were like, Gabe, can you meet us? Can you learn all of the set in like a week and a half or 2 weeks and meet us somewhere? And he was like, yeah. So he learns the set. Yeah. And then we fly him out to a show, and then we fly the other guy back to New York, and then Gabe just fucking kills it. And
yeah, he definitely
I was like, Gabe, will you join our band? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess he's been there since.
Yep, Gabe's a beast.
Yeah.
He's a fucking monster at everything.
Yeah, I just had interviewed him last week. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, Gabe's cool.
All right, and then before Luciferis, you actually did like a little side project called Meyer Lore, and you released Marrow Leech in 2018. How did that come to be, that project?
You know, in all honesty, I can't really remember exactly how it started. Basically, oh, you know what? I remember. Because Enterprise Earth was kind of leaning, like, when after Embodiment hit, like, one of the reasons I didn't like Embodiment either was because it started to get a little too melodic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, which would later foreshadow the future stuff, which we'll get to in there in just a moment.
Yeah. And so I felt like I needed to have an outlet where I can just, like, do disgusting shit. And
Nice.
because I'm the type of vocalist and person that will write my vocals and lyrics to complement the instrumentation. So I'm not going to just, like, if the song doesn't call for it, I'm not going to just be like gutturals all the way through. Like, I'm going to do stuff that like marries together well. And so Enterprise Earth just isn't calling for me to do that nasty, brutal shit. And that's why I started Meyer Lore, is because I needed an outlet where I could just be fucking brutal as fuck and disgusting, and also be weird and try new shit. And so I did a guest vocal spot for, I don't even fucking remember that band's name, but they were a Jesse Kirkbride produced band, or Florida band. And I don't remember what the fucking band is called, but Frankie was in that band. And he was the guitar player, and he was super cool because he came out to a show one time and he was just like the sweetest guy I've ever met. And then on top of that, he just writes disgusting shit. And so I hit him up and I was like, hey, do you want to start a project that's just like us doing nasty shit? And he's just like, hell yeah, fuck yeah, bro. Like, that's how he talks all the time. And so yeah, we started that. And I think, part of it too is that the Enterprise Earth, like, from the get-go, it's like, if you're a member and you contribute and you work as hard as I do, then that's your band too. It's not my band. You know what I mean? Like, since I started with BJ, it doesn't mean I have any more ownership than Gabe or Brandon, our drummer. To me, we're all equals, and that's how we ended up setting up our LLC, is we're all equal owners of the material and the band, and the proprietorship, or whatever lingo you want to use.
All for one and one for all.
Yeah. But with that also comes compromises in sound. And I think with Meyer Lore, I wanted to direct the sound towards more brutal, more extreme sounding stuff. And with Enterprise Earth, I can't force that. We all naturally have to come together and just do our thing. You know what I mean? It just comes out how it comes out with Enterprise. There's no, like, intent of, like, we're going to be melodic this year and we're going to be singy and weird. It just comes out that way. And that's the product of us all sharing and contributing as musicians, like, equally, all of us putting in our own flavor into the pot and letting it be what it is. So that's how Meyer Lore came out. I was like, yeah, I want to get disgusting and do gutturals again and more often and be brutal. So that's how that started.
All right. So did you have to, like, put yourself in, like, a different mind frame, or is there, like, a usual like a formula or game plan depending on, like, the project?
Mindset. No, I mean, I puff my chest out and then I hold the microphone like this. Like, that's all I gotta do.
All right. All right. So moving on. So you're saying
it's just, yeah, there's different mindsets. I mean, with Enterprise, it's just like I have to like listen to what Gabe is writing song wise, and then whatever ideas and whatever feelings that the instrumentation gives me is what I have to roll off of, and that's what I have to. Those emotions that I feel from the instrumentation is what I have to deliver vocally. And so obviously, when there's not really a mindset, it just happens naturally, and that's Enterprise Earth. I feel called to do more like melodic things, and it's usually higher pitch stuff, just because that's just the emotions that it calls for. And then obviously when I listen to Milo or instrumentation, it's like, all right, time to get,
All right. So then moving on, 2019, we get to Luciferis. I love this album, and I guess this is also your first album under E1 Good Fight. How did they find you guys?
Our manager was shopping us around, and all the like Metal Blade and stuff like that and Nuclear Blast weren't interested in us. So, but E1 was like, hey, we'll take care of you. And we were like, all right. And they have, E1's been great. Except recently, or a couple. I think it's just because another company bought them out. I can't remember, some big company bought them out. And
news to me.
And so there's there's some sort of like weird accounting stuff going on, like, everything's transferring over to new leadership and all that kind of stuff. I don't exactly know, but something's a little funky. And usually when that kind of stuff happens, like, communication is a little weird with the record label, and like when it comes to finances and payouts and borrowing money and stuff like that, it gets a little weird. So, but so far they've taken really great care of us and been a good label. And Luciferis, that album was great, to me, because after Embodiment, to write a record and then feel like, finally I have music that I'm proud of, that I enjoy myself. And that's where I always want to be when I release a record. So when we finished writing that and recorded it with Jason Sukoff, he's the guy that does Job for a Cowboy and has done a bunch of crazy big albums.
Yeah, great producer.
Mm-hmm. And also a very fucking amazing, funny, and frustrating person to work with.
He's funny. I saw like the Roadrunner United DVD. He was pretty funny there.
Oh yeah, he's great to work with. Yeah, he produced that record and it was great, and so everyone was super stoked on it. So that was good. And yeah, any questions about that one?
No, just like what was like that whole record cycle, like the tours? I think the only tour I saw you on was that tour with Lorna Shore in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right around there you toured a little bit, but then of course the pandemic hit, and then which kind of leads into 2020 with last year's EP, The Foundation of Bones. How did you decide to come up with make an EP?
Yeah, so basically that was so we were in Europe when shit went down. Lorna Shore was in Europe too.
Oh shit.
They had just started a 3-day tour. Like, not a 3-day tour. They were on tour for 3 days, and we were on our we had 3 or 4 shows left of the tour in Europe.
So you were this close to finishing.
Yeah, and it was a fun tour because we were out there with Brand of Sacrifice and Rings of Saturn and Traders, and everyone was just having a good fucking time. It was pretty fucking fun. But we were just at the point, because Europe's really expensive to tour in, with shipping equipment and travel and bus rental and stuff like that. So we just broke even, and the last 4 days were going to be profit. And that would have been the first time in Europe where we would have actually came home with money in our pockets. And right on that day is when Trump closed the borders from Europe to the States, and then he was going to close the UK as well. So and that's when I hit up Adam from Lorna Store, and I was like, "Yo, you guys gotta get the fuck out now! Abort! So they had it worse than us because they paid all that money, shipped themselves out there, rented a bus, all that stuff, or vans. I don't know what they were doing. And then after playing 3 shows, they had to shut down so that all their revenue was cut off. So they had it even worse than us. So that fucking sucked for them. So we had to plan, and then we had to pay and plan emergency flights back like tomorrow. You know what I mean? So we all scrambled, and Gabe booked us flights back, and then we all went back to Germany and flew our asses back home with no money after like 3.5, almost 4 weeks of touring in Europe. So we were broke, and it gets worse from there because what happened is we had a tour with Thy Artist Murder and Fit for an Autopsy scheduled for right when we get back home.
Yeah.
So as soon as the Europe tour ended, we worked out a deal with them where they would start the tour the first 3 days without us, and then we'd meet them on the tour and then do a full run with them.
Yeah.
And so we had ordered, like, I can't remember how much money it was, $10,000 to $20,000 worth of merchandise.
Oh shit!
We had already ordered it, and it was already sitting for us at Brandon's mom's house. So as soon as we landed from Europe, we would load up all that merch, and then fly and tour with Thy Artist Murder, and it would be fucking happy dandy, and it was going to be lit because we were going to make good money after Europe and doing that tour back to back. Yeah. So I would have been gone for 2 months and actually had money in my pocket, because we've done so many tours where I would tour for basically nothing. I'd be gone on tour and for a month or 2 months. I think there was even a stretch where we did like 6 months, and I barely made any fucking money. And it's hard when you have rent to pay for, and it's rough. But so we were set up for that, and so basically the Thy Artist Murder tour was canceled because of coronavirus.
Yeah, I heard they only played like one show.
Mm-hmm. And so we got back.
I interviewed Pat a few weeks ago.
Yes, we got back, and we were chilling at Brandon's house, and we were like, "Fuck!" So we are now in the negative because we had to buy flights home from Europe, emergency flights, and on top of that, we have like a $10,000 to $20,000 merch bill that we have no tour for. So we were in the hole about, I don't know, about $20,000, and we were trying everything. We were like, all right, we're gonna fucking do our own DIY tour back to the West Coast to get everyone home and at least pay some of the debt off, or at least pay for the gas to get back. Yeah. And basically, we were on the phone, and managers and booking agents was put together a little tour. We called it the Coronavirus.
Yeah, I heard. I actually was going to see you in Canton, but then that got canceled.
Yeah. And then on top of that, everyone was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you would do that during the fucking flu season or whatever." And we were just like, "Oh fuck!" So all the booking agents ended up canceling that too for us, and we were just like, "Well, we were fucked." So we all went back home empty-handed, and then we were just like, "All right, well, what do we do?" And we were just like, "All right, let's do some covers and make an EP."
Yeah.
And so we did.
Yeah, and I love the covers of Lamb of God, Now You Got Something to Die For, and Fermented of Oh Full Discharge by Necrophagus. How'd you ended up like covering those songs in particular?
Those are just songs that were on our bucket list to cover, and we were just like, all right, this is our chance to cover those songs now, so let's do it.
Yeah, and they just sound fucking sick. Like you could definitely tell you, like you guys add like your own spin to it.
Yeah, a little bit. But for me, it sucks because that's why I hate doing covers, is because I'm so stuck. I feel stuck. There's nothing really artistic about it. You're just doing. But Lamb of God is one of my favorite bands of all time, especially the album Ashes of the Wake.
Yeah, they're still their best album.
Yep, to me at least. But yeah, so that's how that all happened, and then I think over time with that EP, we were able to pay off that debt. So that was good for us, even though I don't think that it got a lot of attention or hype, which is fine with me. I don't care, but it didn't get that much attention or hype, but it somehow brought in enough money to pay off all that debt, which was amazing and super thankful for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the only time I played that song live, I fucked it up.
All right, and then that EP, you also did an acoustic version of the song "There Is No Tomorrow." How did you guys ended up decide to do an acoustic version of a song?
I think Gabe said he wanted to do an acoustic song, and I was like, "Hey, let me sing it," because I think he's planning on trying to sing it or something. I don't know. And I was like, "Hey, let me sing it because you haven't heard my sweet little angel voice."
Yeah.
And I want to show you. And he was like, "All right, here it is." And then I did it, and then he was like, "Oh shit, this is tight." And I was like, "Yay, let's do it." So I just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of naturally came about.
Yeah, and when I first heard it, I was like, "Holy shit, you can actually sing! You're not just like a demon; you're an actual angel." And I was like, "Wow, I'm as impressed."
Thanks, man.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of we did it mainly for us and not necessarily for hype or to be cool. We're just like, let's do it for us because that's what we like to do. And I think I think that's what probably inspired our attitude towards The Chosen. So
yeah, which we're gonna get to right now. Was that Foundation of Bones sort of like a preview of what we're gonna expect for The Chosen, which comes out January 14th?
Honestly, not really at all.
Yeah.
Foundation of Bones, that song was actually in the roster for The Chosen. There's actually going to be one of the songs on it. But that's the thing is, I mean, if you can't tell by just the 3 songs that we released, that none of the songs really sound the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They all have like their own identity. So like the Foundation of Bones is also had its own identity, and no other song really sounded like that. So it's really not a good hint for the new album at all, because it doesn't sound like any of the songs we have.
Yeah, so you're basically, so I feel like the songs like Reanimate, Disintegrate is different from a song like Where Dreams Are Broken, and different from Legends Never Die. So I guessing with all the songs that we've heard so far, I guess you're feeling like different emotions or different vibes.
Yeah, I mean, all the songs are very different. Very different. Like they could all be, probably every song on the record could be a song from a different record.
Yeah. And so with The Chosen, do you just consider this just picking up where you left off after Luciferis, or is this almost kind of like a new beginning for Enterprise Earth in a way?
I think it's more of like a, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it is. All I know is that we're super stoked about it, and I think that's all I care about. Is I just want to be able to write songs that I'm happy with, and I know that just doing Luciferis Part 2 just isn't. I mean, from a whole bunch of different perspectives, it's not a good idea to just write another record again. Like a good example of something that works for is like someone like Rammstein. Yeah, they literally they wrote an album, it blew up, and so they basically wrote the same fucking album like 10 times. Yeah. And it just works. If you ever listen to all their songs
before AC/DC.
Yeah, and if you listen to every one of their singles or hits right one after the other, you'll notice they have the exact same formula of song structure. and the same exact, except for, I mean, of course it's a little bit different. Every song is a little different, but they have the same like song structure and everything for all their hits. And it's like, it works for them because they fucking got gigantically fucking huge on their first album. But we're not a huge band. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if we wanted to stay at the level that we're at, then we'll just write another Luciferis and call it a day. That's also really fucking boring.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I think if we're gonna write something new, we're gonna change it up, and we're just gonna do what we want to do. And if we get notoriety for doing it, that's cool. But if not, at the end of the day, we're fucking stoked about our songs, and that's number one for me. I mean, because if I have to live another fucking record cycle with another embodiment under my belt, I'm gonna kill myself.
And so
It's just fucking.
Yeah, you're saying.
Oh, I don't ever want to, have to perform songs I fucking hate. I always want to push the boundaries, and I always want to experiment and like kind of keep it as an art form, not an athletic competition between bands. You know what I mean? I want to keep the art in music with us. And I see that trend now where everything is kind of like this gigantic, brutal competition where who's got the lowest of lows, the highest of highs, who's got the craziest breakdown. And to me, it's just like, I don't give a fuck. I mean, there's some fucking crazy breakdowns in our shit, but that's just because we like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So it's
Not
safe to say
because.
Yeah. So it's safe to say that you guys always take like a new approach. There's not like a formula that you stick with.
So far, yeah. I mean, and then we kind of like learn from things, and I think that's what the Chosen is. It's like Gabe definitely pushed himself past like Luciferis. You know what I mean? Like he pushed himself, and then he kind of went in different directions, because one of the things when he started writing instrumentation, he's like, so where should we go? Like, what do we want to achieve? Like, what do we want to write? Like, what kind of style do we want to go for? And I told him, I was like, and then I think we bounced a couple ideas, and he was like, I just want to keep it Enterprise Earth. You know what I mean? Like he wants to keep it very Enterprise Earth. And I was like, bro, you're Enterprise Earth now. Like you are Enterprise Earth now. Like it's our band. It's fuck everything that we've done in the past. Like write whatever you want, write what you feel like is right. And I was like, write you know what I mean? And I think that definitely it kind of set him free in a sense, because he wasn't like bound to just writing things that mimicked or followed the path that we've taken in the past. So he was like, oh dang, basically just gave him full artistic freedom to write whatever. And so that, of course, I knew along with that comes a lot of groove and a lot of gent, because he was in Delusions of Grandeur, and that was a gent band, right? And so there's a lot of like genty stuff in there too, and I think it's fucking great. I think it's so much better to have so much variety in our songs and so much more freedom, instead of just like Embodiment, where every song is like the fucking same song. And yeah, and there's some things that I miss about BJ's writing too, but it's like it's just a different journey, you know.
Yeah.
I think Gabe is a special person, and just like a special artist. I relate to what we just vibe well, I guess, when it comes to music.
It's like just like the perfect evolution. Like the Chosen isn't just like a follow-up to Luciferis, and Luciferis isn't a follow-up to Embodiment. I just consider like every album to just be kind of like the next evolution for Enterprise Earth.
Yeah. Oh, another band that does the same fucking thing every time is
Five Finger Death Punch.
The Black Dahlia Murder.
Yeah. Oh, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, I love the Black Dahlia Murder. But they have written like the same album 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But finally, what I was super stoked about was they did finally change a little bit, because I used to be a big fan of Arsis and also the Black Dahlia Murder simultaneously, and then they picked up the guitar player from Arsis, and like literally that was what the Black Dahlia Murder was missing for me back then, was obviously like a crazy lead guitar player, like an insane lead guitar player. And then they got him, and then fucking Defloret came out, and I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Fucking Defloret's probably one of my favorite Black Dahlia Murder albums now.
Oh, yeah, same for me. Now, as a vocalist, do you need to hear music in order to come up with lyrics, or do you usually have like a lyrical concept or idea in mind, and that can help determine the music itself?
I don't know. It depends on each song. I mean, some songs I'll play the song over and over and write each section as it goes, based off of whatever concept I decide I want the song to be about, and then that's decided by what kind of emotion the song gives to me when I listen to it. But then there's some songs where I'll write everything out on a piece of paper without hearing the song or a song at all, and then change when the song starts playing. I'll try to put those lyrics up to it and then just tweak it to that. It just depends. But I'm very like kind of like let my intuition guide me and write for me, in a sense. I don't know how that works, but it just does.
All right. So do you tend to leave lyrics open to interpretation, or do you try to engage the listener into what the songs are about?
No, I think it's more of a, I try not to think about the listener. They don't exist. To me, it's about how everything cohesively fits. I mean, because like you could have like a very, very epic part or whatever, and then it just gets heavy as fuck. So what it'll do is, like, when I've already written this epic part, and then this heavy as fuck part comes in, and then it just switches something in me that changes the style of the lyrics that match the emotion of the song. I don't know how to explain it, but it just, I don't know. I don't even think about it really. It just happens. That's why I say I let my intuition write, because I try not to. I don't have like a science or a mathematical equation that writes songs for me. I just let it roll, you know?
Yeah. All right. And sort of like going into like the live shows, like when playing live, is there like a similar energy as to like recording an album, or is it like almost kind of like two separate entities?
No, it's definitely two separate entities, because recording studio is more of a sterile environment, a perfection environment, and live is just sweaty, dirty, nasty, hot, disgusting, hungover, or drunk. And I don't know, like, it's just like the energy live is fucking crazy when the fans give you that energy back, or the crowd gives you that energy back. It's completely different. And in the studio, it's sterile, sober, boring, tedious, and just fucking shot. But there's beauty to it, because the reward in the studio is cooler, on paper at least.
All right.
Because you work at it and you go through that tedious, process, and then when it's done, you play back the whole song, and it's like, damn, that's a fucking song, and it sounds sick.
All right. All right. Got two more questions for you. It's sort of like continue with the live thing. Like, you've played for so many variety of different bands. Like, you played with King Conqueror, you played with Cannibal Corpse, you played with Chelsea Grin. And do you ever notice like a different like crowd reactions depending on the tours you're on?
Yeah. For instance, it's mainly the fans of the different style of bands that come out. Like, we played with Thyroid's Murder and Dying Fetus one time, or for a tour, and
that was a sick show. I was there.
Yeah, the Fetus fans, they liked us, but it's an older crowd of older people, and it's like, I'm kind of the same way. Like, I don't really like to listen to new bands and what's new and what's hot. I still listen to fucking Linkin Park. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hybrid Theory and Meteor. I still listen to those. Those are my go-tos. Not necessarily trying to find new bands and check out new bands. I don't know. I'm just getting old, so it's like you kind of stick to those feelings and that nostalgia. And so Dying Fetus fans will come up to us and be like, "You guys were sick, but you're not Fetus," you know, that kind of shit. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's been pretty cool. I mean, we've always gained some new fans when you play those diverse bills. Probably got some fans that we never would have otherwise, but it's definitely, I mean, even on Summer Slaughter, I mean, first of all, we were playing at like noon or like 1 p.m. On Summer Slaughter, but it was like some of the crowds were just so fucking death metal that like we would fucking play our hearts out, and they would just stand there with their arms crossed, like, all right, next.
Wow.
But yeah, that sucked. That whole tour was fun as fuck.
All right. And could you like also see yourself like with this new album, like especially with this new sound, this new what I would consider like the new era for Enterprise Earth? Could you like see yourself touring like other bands in the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's but that's what you always do when you're on tour and you tour with the band. It's a little bit different. You kind of cater your set to what you think would fit best with that crowd. Like if we're gonna, but yeah, so since we do have such a diverse album now, if we do get tours with other artists, then we can pull out, like if we're touring with Alisana, we can bring out Where Dreams Are Broken, and then when we're touring with like Whitechapel, we can bring out Reanimate Disintegrate, or if we tour with Volumes, we can bust out another song that no one's heard yet, or if we tour with fucking Nickelback, then we can also bust out another song that no one else has heard yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the final question I want to ask you, and I want to save the best one for last, and it's the hardest one. Get ready.
Sure.
How do you know when a song is done?
What?
Like
when you're writing it?
Yeah, just like when you're writing it, just how would you know when you like, is it like a feeling, like how do you feel or know when a song is done?
Oh, usually it's a sense of like, God, I'm glad that's over with.
That's probably the best answer. So yeah, so before we go, I just want to thank you for this conversation and interview. Is there just anything else you would like to promote with the Chosen? Like we got the tour coming up next month with Fit for an Autopsy and Jested. So the Swarm, looking forward to that. I'm got my ticket for the Atlanta show, as well as I pre-ordered the new album on CD, vinyl, cassette, and the shirt. Is there just anything else with the release of the Chosen you would like to promote?
No, I mean, January 14th is coming up quicker now. It's very close. So that's the release date. And then there for sometime in 2022 there will be Mirelord as well. But I think that's all I got.
Awesome. So everybody, Dan Watson of Enterprise Earth. We'll see you next time.